Hey everybody, the last piece of the human resources puzzle we're gonna fit together is going to be certain types of leadership styles, and we're going to talk about 3 in this course. And in this video, we're going to talk about those, give you some examples, but we're also going to talk about. We're going to start with why does all of this matter? Now I've kind of said it before, but I want to spell it out. What you have to understand is that, and this is actually true of any resource, that the way you use a resource, like how much you acquire, how much you end up paying for it, and what it does for you, and the way you sort of monitor it, manage it, all of that ultimately determines how successful your business is, right? And one of the most complicated resources to manage are humans, labor, right? Because they have emotions, basically, right? They have their own mindset, and sometimes they decide what they want to do, and they don't care what you might want as the business owner. So people who lack the skills, and essentially people skills, communication skills, to motivate people and regulate them and have them do what you want in the way that you want it done is very difficult. And if you've really not, if it's not, if it doesn't come natural to you, essentially your business is going to be much less efficient, right? Synonym is productive, than it otherwise could be. Productivity is important. It's what actually expands material wealth in your society. So if all of your resources are being used as productively as possible, you have more output with a given amount of input. Resources is input than you otherwise would. If you are not productive, you're inefficient. Those same level of resources, input, produce less output, which means society has less stuff. And that's true for a society, an economy, as it is for an individual or an individual business. That's why this is also important. So let's take a look at our 3 leadership styles that we're going to talk about. We have laissez-faire, which means hands off, right? French means just leave it alone. And then autocratic, and then democratic. Okay, so we'll start with laissez-faire. First of all, essentially the definition is that it's you essentially don't get involved. You're not micromanaging every little thing about an organization or a business, right? The authority is usually distributed or even almost non-existent in some way. Like you don't get involved all the time. You don't always issue a directive. Sometimes problems are left to solve themselves. So for example, maybe a small personality conflict or things like that. Here's an example. I've got, say a manager decides there's going to be a sale or it's like Christmas season, lots of shopping in the mall, and your manager says, we need an ad for the front window to be painted on there. And then that's all the manager does. Lets the workers go, right? They come up with their own design, what it's going to say, what things are going to feature, what if it's going to be painted or markers or cut out with cardboard or whatever, right? And then just the manager just leaves it. Whatever. Or again, like a personality conflict goes, well, you two sort this out. But I expect it to be sorted out. And then that's all the manager does. That's laissez-faire, right? This idea that things will solve themselves. And essentially, if you look at the very, very top, you see the sentence. It says, for your notes, complete the following table. Last sentence, most important. The best managers aren't one of these 3. They can switch between them depending on the situation. So whatever is needed, that's what's used. So an example where this one is fine are simple problems that aren't, threatening to the business. They're often not essential if they're solved now or in 3 months. Or if you have a self-motivated sort of department or group of employees who take charge and are pretty bright and clever and just get it. They just understand stuff, and it lets them feel like they're respected and they have some ability to make decisions because they're good at what they do. So those types of scenarios, or when you have that type of staff, sometimes this method works just fine on a regular basis. The second one, though, is authoritarian. So this is a situation where the manager, and some old school managers are like this, or managers who haven't had any actual formal training on how to be a manager. And other managers that don't have those people skills, that the only thing they know how to do is yell and yell louder. And they're usually not very effective, because that doesn't always work. There's situations where you need it, right? But the style is where the manager makes most of the decisions and usually doesn't even take input. Even if it's given, it's usually ignored, or in their mind it's diminished. The authoritarian or autocratic manager assumes that only he or she knows best, and that you're almost to the point of being obstinate and just, I don't care what you think, I'm doing this. Sometimes they can be like that. So a situation, similar scenario would be the manager would tell the employees to make a sign, and what would be on it, and then a worker might say, "Oh, I don't know that. I don't think that'll work because of this and this," and the manager would just say, "No, do it anyway. Do what I said. I don't care." Right? It's that type of management style. Someone who operates like that. But if I sounded negative, there are actually situations where this is better for where decisions need to be made and you just don't have the time. So things that are urgent, or situations that require a high level of expertise or experience or maybe secret knowledge that only the manager knows about, that the staff they don't know enough or don't have enough experience to be able to actually offer meaningful input. They might think they do, but they don't, right? Or it can be for simple routine tasks like please sweep the floor before you do this. Like there must be a reason, if there's a reason, and it doesn't really need input, right? It's sweeping the floor. The last style is democratic. And this one is much more collaborative than even laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is just let people decide, whereas democratic is it's really a collaborative decision-making process, right? The manager might even, or whoever the leader is, might retain the final say, and sometimes not. Sometimes they'll say, okay, I want you to think about this and that, or you have an initial discussion and you go, okay, I trust your opinion on this, that you have some good ideas, I'm going to let you decide, go. Just let me know what you've decided, kind of thing, right? Or sometimes the manager will keep the final say, but then there's all of the sharing and input and discussion about how to come to a problem, right? Or how to come to a solution, right, for the problem. Examples would be kind of like health officials and government officials trying to decide what to do right now with when to open schools back up, or a complex surgery requiring multiple specialists, right? So maybe a cardiologist and a neurologist, and every surgery has an anesthetist, right? The doctor that manages the anesthetic. And so they would then decide what to do, and they would all take their turns with their own expertise, piping up as necessary, right? Or saying what needs to happen at certain stages in the surgery. Or coming with a new product, like a prototype for a product, a new design. So you'd have engineers, you'd have marketing people, you'd have your financial expertise come in to say this will cost too much, we won't be able to sell it because it'll be too expensive on the final price. And so you bring all that expertise together. So situations that are generally complicated or that need many fields of expertise are usually best suited to this democratic leadership style. Or things that require innovation, flexibility, and your ability to adjust. And because no manager knows everything about everything, right? Nobody. So complex problems or problems requiring lots of expertise, which are usually complex problems, right? Those are the best situations for democratic leadership. Or maybe you got a situation, you got a staff, and quite often a staff that they all think they're really smart, like say a bunch of doctors, they need to be able to express their views. You can't just make decisions because you think you know best, because nobody in the field of medicine knows best because they don't have expertise in every field, right? Or a staff that are like that need to feel respected, like they have a say, like professionals, like a business full of accountants or a business full of lawyers or a business full of doctors or whatever, right? Business full of smart people, right? Computer programmers and designers and stuff. So often you need to at least have some degree of democratic input to be able to keep them happy, right? Because some people don't just need money. They need to feel respected and they need to feel they have a role, right? So depending on the staff you have, the problem you have, and the situation you're in, what type of business and the environment, how quickly you need to make a decision and how complex the problem is, you can switch between different types of leaderships. And the best leaders can do that pretty effortlessly. All right. So before you head into the project, your goal now is to, if you haven't already, pause this video at certain points and fill in this table. But I strongly recommend you do a Google search for these three types and get a little bit more depth of your understanding, because generally speaking, this assignment hasn't been done that well because people end up turning it into a biography about some leader instead of demonstrating that they understand these leadership styles and then trying to then show when these leadership styles happened and be able to sort of justify why they think this is the leadership style in this situation. The assignments were not done very good. So when I introduce the assignment, I'll show some exemplars and you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. So goal right now is get your chart to a situation, the state sort of looking like this, and then maybe put in some links. Once you've made your copy of your file, put in some links and go and find some more in-depth sort of websites that talk about this, maybe from some business schools. In fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's do a quick Google. I would type in the word, since you can see this, it'll go come on, why I can't, 1 second, sorry. Type in define, and then you can put in, I don't know, democratic leadership. And then you've got a whole bunch of options up here, right? In nursing. Let's try in nursing. So, and it gives you a definition. You can find some websites down here. What is your leadership style? What is democratic participatory leadership? And medical staffing. Maybe this one. It's pretty close to the top of the list. And up will come. Notice at the top it's .edu. This is an education website. It's actually a university website by the look of it. And then you've got much more examples, right? Definition. What is the definition? Democratic participatory leadership. What is participative leadership? History of, case in point, Apple, as in the company. And this will give you a little bit, if you skim some of it, you get a little bit more background to what it is. And that'll help you do the assignment better. Make sense? Okay. Again, as usual, if you have questions, let me know.